the ship of state is a slow process. States are like big tankers. They're not like speedboats. You can't just whip them around and go in a new direction. Instead, you kind of slowly move it, and then eventually you end up in a very different place. So, let me just give you a few examples. When it comes to Iraq, I opposed the war in Iraq. I thought it was a bad idea. Now that we're there, I have a responsibility to make sure that as we bring troops out, that we do so in a careful enough way that you don't see a complete collapse into violence. So some people might say, wait, I thought you were opposed to the war. Why don't you just get them all out right away? Well, just because I was opposed at the outset, it doesn't mean that I don't have now responsibilities to make sure that we do things in a responsible fashion. When it comes to climate change, George Bush didn't believe in climate change. I do believe in climate change. I think it's important. That doesn't mean that suddenly, the day I'm elected, I can say, okay, we're going to turn off all the lights, and everybody's going to stop driving, right? All I can do is to start moving policies that over time are going to obtain a different result. And then it is true, though, that there are some areas where I agree with many of my friends in the United States who are on the opposite political party. For example, I agree that Al-Qaeda is an enormous threat, not just to the United States, but to the world. I have no sympathy and I have no patience for people who would go around blowing up innocent people for a political cause. I don't believe in that. So, yes, I think that it is just and right for the United States and NATO allies and other allies from around the world to do what we can to eliminate the threat of Al-Qaeda. Now, I think it's important that we don't just do that militarily. I think it's important that we provide educational opportunities for young people in Pakistan and Afghanistan so that they see a different path. And so my policies will be somewhat different, but I don't make any apologies for continuing the effort to prevent bombs going off or planes going into buildings that would kill innocents. I don't think any society can justify that. And so, as I said, 4 years from now or 8 years from now, you can look back and you can see maybe what he did wasn't that different. And hopefully you'll come to the conclusion that what I did made progress. Okay. Yes, young lady right here.
First of all, welcome to our country, Turkey. My name is Defne Gönenç from Middle East Technical University. I would like to continue in Turkish, if it's possible.
Yes.
Afterwards.
Wait. Say, I got my...
Thank you very much.
Hold on.
Thank you.
My first question is that in the event that Turkey becomes an EU member, how is that? Test. Mr. President, can you hear me now? Mr. President, can you hear me now? Mr. President, can you hear me now?
Okay, try again.
Mr. President, can you hear me now?
Thank you very much.
There you
In the event that Turkey becomes a member of the EU, how will that affect U.S. foreign policy and for the Alliance of Civilizations? And my second question is a little more personal. We watched your election with my American friends. Before you were elected, my friends who said that they were ashamed of being Americans, after you were elected, said that they were proud to be Americans. This is a very sudden and big change. What do you think the reason is for this change?
The United States' friendship with Turkey doesn't depend on their EU membership. So even if Turkey continued not to be a member of the EU, the United States in our bilateral relations and in our relations as a NATO ally can really strengthen progress. And I had long discussions with the President and the Prime Minister about a range of areas where we can improve relations, including business and commerce and trade. We probably can increase trade between our two countries significantly, but we haven't really focused on that. Traditionally, the focus in Turkish-American relations has been around the military, and I think for us to broaden that relationship and those exchanges could be very important. In terms of my election, I think that what people felt good about was it affirmed the sense that America is still a land of opportunity. I mean, I was not born into wealth. I wasn't born into fame. I come from a racial minority. My name is very unusual for the United States. And so I think people saw my election as proof, as testimony that although we are imperfect, our society has continued to improve, that racial discrimination has been reduced, that educational opportunity for all people is something that is still available. And I also think that people were encouraged that somebody like me who has a background of living overseas, who has Muslims in his family, that I might be able to help to build bridges with other parts of the world. The American people are very hopeful people. We're an optimistic people by nature. We believe that anything is possible if we put our minds to it. And that is one of the qualities of America that I think the world appreciates. Sometimes people may think that we aren't realistic enough about how the world works, and we think that we can just remake the world without regard to history, because we're still a relatively new nation compared to Turkey and how old this civilization is. America is still very new. And so it's true that I think we believe that things can happen very fast, and that transformations in politics or in economics or in science and technology can make our lives better overnight. So sometimes we need more patience. But I also think the world needs to have a sense that change is possible.